Good evening and welcome to the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Abington Board of School Directors. I note the attendance of all board members with the exception of Ms. Frazier, who is excused. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Abington Board of School Directors has convened this evening's meeting at the Administration Building, and the public is welcome. In consideration of the health and safety of the school community, this meeting is also being broadcasted live at the Abington School District YouTube channel. This meeting is being recorded and will be accessible on the district's website and cable channel no later than Friday, January 13th, 2023, to allow those members of the public who cannot participate to view the proceeding at a later time. Comments from citizens will be conducted in person and by phone. Information regarding participating remotely in public comment will be displayed on the screen at the time of public comment. The board thanks the public in advance for its cooperation. Prior to this meeting, there was an executive session regarding litigation. This is a place where we hold a dignity in high regard. Everyone's voices are respected and welcome in this space. Do we have any additional comments or any additional agenda items this evening? Okay, we'll open up with comments from my fellow board members. Mr. Allen?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kay?
Nothing, thank you.
Dr. Mowry?
I'd just like to welcome everyone back for the 2023 season.
Thank you. Miss
Glasser.
Thank you, Glasser. Happy New Year, Miss Glasser. I am so happy that you are here. Miss Glasser.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, and I don't have any comments.
Thank you, Miss Glasser. Mr. Muhammad.
Just wish everyone a happy new year.
Thank you, Miss Fazy.
Happy New Year, everyone. Glad to be back.
Dr. Kleiman.
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Thank you. And Dr. Fetcher, want to get us started?
Want to welcome everyone back.
Excellent. This evening's student council representatives, please.
First, I'd like Emma Brown to please come forward from Abington Senior High School.
Good evening, Dr. Fetcher, Mrs. Brown, and members of the Board of School Directors. My name is Emma Brown, and I am president of the Student Council Executive Board. Happy New Year. I cannot wait to see what 2023 will bring for the Abington School District. On December 9th, the girls and boys indoor track season began. Good luck to all team members with your upcoming meets. Congratulations to senior high student Caleb Kim, who was accepted into the NAFME All-Eastern Symphony Orchestra. He will be representing the whole state of Pennsylvania in the selective group, so major congratulations to Caleb. On December 14th, the senior high welcomed Jason Hoven and Rutger Rosenberg from the music statistics company Chartmetric. They discussed things ranging from how songs go viral to Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. The company even provided students with their own licenses to the platform so they can perform their own data analytics. On December 20th, the boys and girls swim team held their first home swim meet since the pool renovations were completed. Both teams won against Neshaminy, and it was a great first meet back in the new pool. Also on December 20th, the Student Council hosted a silent night basketball game at the boys' home game against Wissahickon. Students came out dressed in their holiday costumes and filled the student section. We were silent until the 8th point was scored, and then students were allowed to go crazy. It was a super fun night and a great way to get more students to come out and support the boys basketball team. We are hoping to plan an event for the upcoming girls basketball game soon. Speaking of the girls basketball team, they are doing exceptionally well. Their record is 11-1, and they are ranked number 1 in their league and 13th in the state. Great job to all of the girls on the team. December 23rd concluded the annual Senior High Holiday Door Decorating Contest. Congratulations to rooms C164, C121, and the Health Suite for winning this year. The first week back from winter break was a productive one, as each grade had a town meeting with their grade principals to get informed about upcoming events, changes to Lunch and Learn, and expectations of a well-run senior high. Finally, big congratulations to the Abington cheerleading team who qualified for their state championships in Hershey for the third time in 4 years. Good luck to the team and in their preparation for the championship. I hope you all had a great winter break. It is good to see you all again, and I am excited to continue bringing these updates as we approach the midpoint of the school year. Thank you.
Emma, do you have any college thoughts or decisions at this point, or anything that you would like to share with the
Yeah,
with
so
the board?
on December 15th, I got into Georgetown, which is my number one, so I'll be going there.
Go Hoyas!
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Brown. Love it.
All right, this time I'd like Joe Donnelly to come forward from Abington Middle School.
Good evening, Miss Brown, Dr. Fetcher, and members of the Board of School Directors. I am Joe Donnelly, and I'm on the Executive Board of the Student Council for Abington Middle School. Last month, we ran a very successful food drive for members of our local Abington community. We coordinated with our school's social worker to make 10 overflowing bags of food to be donated directly to families, as well as several large boxes that were delivered to the food bank. At our last meeting, we participated in a planning a calendar event where students work to plan fun events for the rest of the school year. For Builders Club, we had members volunteer their time in December to help with a breakfast with Santa that our local Kiwanis organization hosted. We also held a candy cane gram sale to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We are happy to report that we raised over $300 this year. The Math Counts Club members continue preparing for the regional competition scheduled in February. In January, Abington Middle School's official Math Counts team will be selected from the current group of club members. In December, coding club members continued working on their chosen coding language. Some members have chosen to code using Scratch block coding, while other group members have chosen to learn HTML. The Scratch students coded a program called Crazy Eyes, where they created characters that changed appearances based on how the user interacted with the program. The HTML students created a webpage of their favorite recipe. TATA, Teens Against Drugs and Alcohol, held the always popular karaoke dance at the Abington Middle School during the evening of Friday, December 16th. Over 200 students came out to sing along with their favorite songs and dance to the music. We have 2 more TATA events scheduled for the month of January. Students in the Going Green Club are working on making videos to share with the school on the morning announcements to educate the student body on different environmental issues, like things their family can do to save energy. The Going Green Club held their annual viewing of the original Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, which is filled with environmental themes. After the short video, there was a Lorax trivia contest. We are looking forward to all of the opportunities ahead in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any college plans yet, or not yet? Not just yet. Okay. Just checking.
No
All
pressure.
right, that concludes our Student Council represents.
It is always great to hear from our students and to hear about their accomplishments as well. Dr. Fetcher, can you please proceed with this evening's honors?
Yes, Ms. Brown. I would like to invite Mr. Barrios and Mr. Vaccaro to present the highlights of the 2022 fall sports season at Abington Senior High School, including honoring several members of our teams and student athletes.
Good evening, Dr. Fetcher, Ms. Brown, and members of the Board of School Directors. We are very proud to present and highlight our fall sports season. Mr. Vaccaro will preside, and Ms. Brown, if you would like to join us at the lectern, that would be wonderful. Mr. Vaccaro.
Good evening, Dr. Fetcher, Ms. Brown, and members of the Board of School Directors. Tonight, I'm very excited and proud to share the excellent accomplishments of our student athletes, teams, and coaches in the fall 22 season. First, I'll call to the lectern Abington boys soccer and head coach Randy Garber. Abington boys soccer won the Suburban 1 League Liberty Division title. A 15-2-1 regular season record earned the team their second consecutive league championship. Coach Randy Garber and his team made their 9th straight appearance in the District 1 playoffs. So from 2014 to 2022, they've been in the District 1 playoffs. Team members include Keith Axton, Max Pharma, Kevin Kretschman, Liam Hartman, Ryan Hartman, Josh Malka, Luke O'Donnell, Drew Paxson, James Pollock, Fletcher Vollmer, Braden Brownholtz, Tristan Burns, Peter Cleary, Oscar Hoffman, Alex Hulev, Noah Schnick, Cal Sheridan, Braden Delgado, Anthony Richardson, Jose Rosario Martinez, Nicholas Gray, Brady Hartman, Michael Leaptag, Brandon Maharo, Brian O'Neill, Danny Oliveira, Justin Waterfall, Christian Hinkle, and we're joined tonight by head coach Randy Garber, assistant Isaac Petco, and assistant coach Eric Podros. Congratulations to the team on an outstanding year and a second straight SOL title. And now for an individual recognition with Coach Garber and Mr. Liam Hartman. Liam Hartman was selected to the Pennsylvania Soccer Coaches Association 2022 All-State Team and a 2022 USC All-Region 3 East Mel Team. The senior forward was a Suburban 1 League Liberty Division First Team All-League selection, and Liam does have aspirations to continue his pursuits at the collegiate level, but those plans at the moment are to be determined. Congratulations on an outstanding senior year, Liam, as captain and leader of Abington boys soccer. Thank you, team. Now to the lectern I call Abington girls soccer. With a 15-3 record, Abington girls soccer won the Suburban 1 League Liberty Division title. This stellar mark earned by Coach Rick Tompkins and the team earned them the number 6 seed in the District 1 Class 4A playoffs. In the playoffs, Abington defeated Plymouth Whitemarsh and Council Rock South to advance to the quarterfinals. The program made its 4th district playoff appearance in 5 years, 2018, 2020, 2021, and again here in 2022. Unfortunately, Coach Tompkins is under the weather and could not attend tonight's meeting, but congratulations to Abington girls soccer on their Liberty Division championship.
Boys were getting out of the way. The girls got in the way.
And now for an individual recognition to Miss Mara Day for girls soccer. Mara was selected to the Pennsylvania Soccer Coaches Association 2022 All-State Team. The senior midfielder was a Suburban 1 League Liberty Division First Team All-League selection. Mara will continue her academic and athletic career playing women's soccer at Kutztown University. Congratulations on a great career and best of luck at Kutztown, Mara. Great season, Abington girls soccer. Now to the lectern, I call Cameron Stewart from Abington Field Hockey and assistant coach Janine Lahr. Cameron was selected to the Pennsylvania High School Field Hockey Coaches Association 2022 First Team All-State Division 3A team. The senior midfielder was a Suburban 1 League Liberty Division First Team All-League selection. Cameron will continue her academic and athletic career at Hofstra University playing women's field hockey. Congratulations, Cameron. Cameron was part of a field hockey team that finished 11-7-1 and qualified for the District 1 playoffs. The playoff berth was the program's fourth in 5 years, 2018, 2019, and 2022. The team was recognized by the Pennsylvania High School Field Hockey Coaches Association as a Team GPA award winner. Congratulations on a great year, Abington Field Hockey. Other District 1 playoff qualifying teams, Abington Girls Volleyball. They made their second straight appearance in the district playoffs. Senior captain Kenya Lucas achieved the career milestone of 1,000 plus kills. Coach Dan Marsh's team finished with a 15-4 record. Individual accomplishments in the fall season included Jacob Reebstein. Jacob was a qualifier to the District 1 Boys Golf Championship at Turtle Creek Golf Course, as well as Alejandro Grantano for girls tennis. Alejandro placed second at the Suburban 1 League Liberty Division girls tennis singles tournament, which earned her a berth in the District 1 tournament. Congratulations on a great season, Alejandro. Congratulations to all the students, coaches, and parents and supporters of these outstanding teams. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. To be a student athlete, student first athlete is amazing. And I'm proud to hear where they're going and how they're going to continue with their athleticism. Dr. Fetcher, please proceed with the board orientation for this evening.
Yes, Ms. Brown. First, I'd like Dr. Melchor to begin a presentation on projected enrollment and staffing for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Fetcher. This evening's presentation begins a first look at projected enrollment and staffing for the 2023-2024 school year, as will be the case with the remainder of the budget-related presentations. This spring, we'll continue to fine-tune these projections as we go through the spring. The first page that I'm going to share with you that's on the screen shows the summary of enrollment and staffing projections for next school year. You see in the third column the October 1st actual enrollment for the current school year of 8,534 students. As noted by the double asterisk, that total includes 55 students who were participating in the Abington Cyber Education program during this school year. Overall, as you see in the fourth column, district enrollment is projected to increase by 67 students. The projected enrollment of 8,601 total students is an increase over the current year's enrollment and continues a trend for the last 2 years of increased enrollment. As a comparison, our pre-pandemic enrollment for the 2019-2020 school year was 8,515 students, or 19 students fewer than our enrollment this year, 3 years later. You see in the second to last column recommended staffing adjustments. While we are anticipating an increase of 67 total students, we are recommending an overall reduction of 10 professional staff members. And you'll see in the next few slides where those recommendations fall across the 3 grade spans. This recommended reduction is due to the projected enrollment in each grade level at each elementary school, as well as the middle school and the senior high school, as well as looking at specific individual student needs and caseload sizes for special education. You see for elementary general education, in the first row, a recommended adjustment of a decrease of 7 staff members. You see a projected enrollment increase of 9 students total across 7 elementary schools, grades K to 5. At the middle level, although there's a projected increase of 26 students for grades 6 through 8, those 26 students are across 3 different grade levels and a number of teams at the middle level. So we are not recommending a staffing adjustment at the middle school. For the senior high school, we are projecting 32 additional students. Again, no staffing adjustment as a recommendation, but we are recommending a gray box to address the potential need for a staffing adjustment depending on student course recommendations and course enrollment. We'll have a greater sense of whether that gray box is needed as we get later into the spring and students identify courses in which they are interested for next year. Finally, with regard to special education, you see that across the 3 grade spans, there is a recommended reduction of 3 special education teachers. At the elementary level, we are anticipating a decrease of 16 special education students. At the senior high school, a decrease of 3 special education students in comparison to the current school year, but an increase at the middle level. So we are projecting a decrease in special education staff at the elementary and senior high schools, but an increase at the middle level. You'll see that there is 1 gray box indicated for elementary special education. I'll explain why that is as we go further along in the presentation. The final column provides information on gray boxes, and a total of 12 gray boxes are being recommended. And again, as we go through each individual building and grade span, you will see where those gray box projections result. First, for the elementary schools. I'll walk through the projections for Copper Beach by grade level and then briefly just touch upon each of the other elementary schools. You can see on the right-hand side for Copper Beach a comparison of the projection for September 2023 in comparison to the actual enrollment in October of 2022, or official enrollment. And you see the projection of a decrease of 20 students at Copper Beach. This would be the second year in a row of a projected decline in students at Copper Beach. That results in the recommended decrease in professional staff members at Copper Beach by 2 teachers from the current 41 to 39. You see that there are 2 gray boxes indicated for Copper Beach. As we go through this presentation, a gray box means that while we're not adding or recommending an additional section at this time, we recognize that the need might occur over the course of the spring as additional students enroll based upon what the current class size averages are. In general, we are recommending a gray box in the primary grade levels of K to 2 if the average class size for the projected enrollment is above 23, and at the intermediate grades, grades 3 through 5, if the average class size is above 25. So at Copper Beach, right now, we have gray boxes indicated for grades 1 and 4. At Highland Elementary School, we project an increase of 9 students overall, from 440 current students for our October enrollment to 449. We do not anticipate a need for additional staff for those 9 students based upon the grade levels, but you do see again a gray box in grade 4. At McKinley Elementary School, we are projecting an increase of 11 students, 2 gray boxes in grades 1 and 2, but presently a recommended decrease of 1 professional staff member. Overlook Elementary School, we anticipate a decrease of 6 students and a decrease of 2 professional staff members. But again, gray boxes in kindergarten and 2nd grade. Roslyn Elementary School, we do not project any change in enrollment, remaining at 415 students, but a decrease based upon the grade levels for the students from 20 to 19 professional staff members, and again, 2 gray boxes. Rydell Elementary School, we project an increase of 13 students, but no change in staffing and a gray box in 1st grade. And finally, Willow Hill Elementary School, an increase of 2 students are projected, but a decrease of 1 professional staff member. We do not anticipate at this time the need for a gray box at Willow Hill. So overall, across the 7 elementary schools, an increase of 9 students and a decrease of 7 professional staff members. You see at the bottom of each of the grade levels noted the average class size, and that ranges from a low of 20.6, low of just under 21, to a high of 23, which was up at Copper Beach. On the next page, for the secondary schools, you'll see first the 3 grade levels for the middle school. You see overall a total anticipated enrollment increase of 26 students, but no recommended adjustment in total staffing. You see that in grade 7, it's an increase of 117 students from the current grade 7 class. However, we are projecting a decrease in the number of grade 6 and the number of grade 8 students. So overall, looking at all 3 grade levels combined, total number of teams at the middle level, we are not seeing a need to recommend at this time any additional staff. At the senior high school, again, you see a relatively small increase, projected increase in grades 10, 11, and 12, but a decrease in the number of students projected for grade 9, for a total overall projected increase in enrollment at the senior high school of 32 students. And again, as I previously mentioned, we're recommending 1 gray box in anticipation of a potential need depending on student course enrollment. The last 3 slides of this presentation provide information on special education. And first, for elementary school, you see listed for each of the elementary schools the individual special education programs and the projected number of students to be enrolled in each of those programs. Draw your attention to the final row for each of the elementary schools. It's listed as early intervention. These are students who the school district special education department is aware of, who are not yet enrolled in elementary school, but who may be coming to us and are participating in programs such as early intervention at the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit. We don't have those students assigned yet to a particular program because the special education team is still reviewing IEPs, meeting with families, meeting with students. So as the spring progresses, we'll have a better sense of which of those students, in this case at Copper Beach, 10 potential students, are in fact coming to Abington School District, and which programs they may be enrolled in depending on their particular special education needs. Since we don't yet have that information, we are projecting presently a gray box for elementary special education, but based right now on the total number of students, you'll see at the bottom that we are projecting a decrease in special education students at the elementary level from 388 to 372, which would result in a decrease of 2 special education teachers. Given that we don't yet know the particular needs for all the early intervention students, we are recommending a gray box in the event that we would need, for instance, an additional autistic support class or additional emotional support class to meet particular needs based upon mandated caseloads. At the middle school, on the next page, you'll see a similar chart showing particular special education programs. Again, at the bottom of the chart, as I mentioned, we're anticipating an increase in the number of special education students, with students transitioning up from grade 5 to grade 6, and the need for one additional special education teacher, moving from 22 to 23 total teachers. And then finally, on the last page, you see for the senior high school, the various special education programs, including Active Academy and the Strive program. Again, we see a decrease in the total number of students and a anticipated decrease in the total number of special education teachers based upon reallocating and assigning special education students to the existing staff based upon caseload. So a decrease from 27 to 25 total teachers. Going back to the first slide, way back at the beginning, again, this is ultimately a recommendation at this time of a decrease of 10 staff members across the 3 grade spans, across the 9 schools, with 12 gray boxes. And again, in addition to, at the elementary level, a gray box being recommended because of the unknown presently for early intervention, remind you also that we don't yet know the total number of incoming kindergartners. We base our projections on a 5-year rolling average of enrollment in the school district and the cohort survival from 1 year to the next within the district, the students who remain enrolled in Abington, for instance, from kindergarten to grade 1. Kindergarten registration has not yet begun for the 2023-2024 school year. That information will be going out on February 1st to families. So as we get further along into the spring, we'll be able to better fine-tune particularly the kindergarten numbers to identify if in fact we need any of these gray boxes, we need to make any further adjustments. But this is the preliminary information that Mr. Lionetti will use now to begin the budget process based upon staffing. That's the presentation.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? I have a question about the reallocation. I understand the reallocation of students. You mentioned that, especially with special ed. But with the staffing adjustment of -2, can you explain what happens to the staffing positions when we have projections of a negative value?
Dr. Fetcher, I don't know if Ms. Alfonso would be better to respond to that from the standpoint of HR and the staffing process.
Yeah, I would like to first start off by saying it does not equate to traditionally what one may think of layoffs or things like that. As every year progresses, there are positions that become open, whether it's for family leave or medical leave, and there's also positions through retirement that are open. So the individuals who are our contracted teachers, it doesn't mean that, there's not going to be a position for them. And based on our projections of what those typically would occur throughout a year, most of these positions we would need to hire for anyway based on some of that attrition. But Ms. Alfonso, I ask you to expand on that.
It's absolutely correct. Matter of fact, doing the budget, that was the case due to retirements that we're aware of or individuals going on leave. We were able to actually absorb those reductions. So as far as that's concerned moving forward, so there is no reason for layoffs at this point in time.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Just a reminder and a confirmation, our class numbers include pullouts.
Correct. In the elementary arrays, 100% of all students are included. So even if it's a child who, for instance, may be in a special education classroom for all 4 core content area subjects, math, science, social studies, language arts, they're included in that homeroom count.
Thank you. And our projections are solely based on numbers, not necessarily on needs of students. For example, we added math specialists before based on needs. These projections are based solely on numbers.
Correct. This is based solely on general education homeroom teacher, and the number of students. So we have reading specialists within each elementary school who are not part of these counts, math teachers who are presently being paid for with ESSER funds, ARP ESSER funds, as well as other support folks within our schools based upon whether a school is designated as a Title I school, for instance. They might have additional supports in place.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Or Dr. Fetcher, was there something you wanted to add?
No, Dr. Melchor covered it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fetcher, please proceed with this evening's orientation.
Okay. Tonight, Dr. Tony Butts and members of the Teaching and Learning Department, along with Mr. File and Mr. Barrios, will share the proposed grades K-5 mathematics adoption and proposed additions, deletions, and modifications to the Abington School District academic program for 2023-2024.
Good evening, Mrs. Brown, Dr. Fetcher, and the Board of School Directors. The Teaching and Learning Department, along with Mr. Fowle and Mr. Barrios, will share the proposed K-5 mathematics adoption and proposed 6 through 12 additions, deletions, and modifications to the Abington School District academic program. We will begin the orientation with Dr. Stephanie Viola presenting the new K-5 math program recommendation. Then Ms. Anama, Mr. File, and Mr. Barrios will present the recommendations for the secondary program.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
For grades K through 5, illustrative mathematics through Imagine Learning is being recommended as the new elementary math program. This program went through a long selection process that began last fall under the direction of the Superintendent's Committee for the Adoption of Instructional Materials. An elementary math subcommittee of key stakeholders conducted an extensive review of research and currently available programs. They participated in site visitations and evaluated materials based on multiple criteria set forth as priorities for the teaching and learning of mathematics. Additionally, as part of the selection process, all elementary teachers had the opportunity to participate in an open review of the highly rated programs that were selected. Illustrative mathematics was selected for multiple reasons. It has a problem-based pedagogy focused on student thinking and discourse. Its design principles are focused on equity and access, including access for all, presumed competence, and strengths-based approach. The instructional design supports cohort progressions of standards-based learning and solid instructional routines. The guiding principles of this program support teachers to structure problem-based learning with appropriate rigor, and they support a mathematical community by encouraging collective learning. This program also had the highest ratings on Ed Reports for alignment to standards and usability. Illustrative mathematics has print components, assignable lessons and assessments, family materials, digital interactive manipulatives, hands-on manipulatives, digital assessments, center activities, and digital reports. So we are proud to bring this forward as a recommendation. At this time, Ms. Anama will continue with the middle school recommendations.
Good evening. The middle school recommendations for this evening are tied very closely to the reconfiguration of grade spans that we began this fall. And so Mr. File is going to come up and present. We'll both be available for questions, but you'll notice that these are essentially the second phase of changes that began this school year.
Our recommendation in mathematics is to complete the full vision for Abington Middle School and the math sequence by modifying the pre-algebra Part 2 course to an Algebra 1 class for next year. The graphic illustrates this recommended change. This year we began shifting the grades 6 and 7 curriculum to create a path to Algebra 1 for all students in grade 8. Mathematics 6 is focused on the grade 6 PA core mathematics standards. Teachers are using the additional 75 hours of instruction to lay a solid foundation for students at the middle level. In grade 7, the pre-algebra courses are providing a comprehensive study of pre-algebra that meets the grade 7 PA Core mathematics standards and sets all students up for Algebra 1 in 8th grade. The changes increase access to Algebra 1 in 8th grade and establish entry points into honors mathematics should 7th and 8th graders choose to pursue those courses. In world language, we did previously present this change as well, but in world language we are looking to make our Mandarin Chinese Level 2 course consistent with our French, German, and Spanish classes. We began the process for this change in the fall of last year and propose the creation of Level 1 Part 2 next year. Mrs. Inama will take us to the senior high school proposed changes.
Senior high school changes are also a continuation of changes that we began last year with the reconfiguration of grade spans and the expansion of the college and career pathway program at the high school. So we've established 10 pathways, and this year's 9th graders are the first group that's going to get to experience them in their entirety. And so they will continue to be built out over the next 4 years so that the class of 2026 has that full pathway experience. As Mr. Barrios presents the changes, you'll hear him reference how the new courses that we are suggesting that we add will add to those pathways and build them out in a more robust nature.
Thank you, Ms. Inama. Good evening. In art, we are recommending modifying Studio Art 1 to Honors Studio Art 1 to establish a 4-year honor sequence for students interested in the visual and performing arts pathway. We believe that this shift will also better prepare students for more advanced courses such as AP Art Theory. In business and information technology, we recommend modifying our current work-study program into a career experience program. The shift would expand the course to include a sustained career preparation experience through service learning, internships, or work placement. This shift aligns with our vision to have all students experience their future through the college and career pathway model. Within the English department, we are recommending several changes designed to engage more students in reading and writing and to establish multiple connections to the college and career pathways model. Our first recommendation is the addition of a second cinema course, Advanced Theater Arts Cinema. This course will offer students a more in-depth study of both classic and modern films. Students will learn about narrative structure and will explore a wide variety of film genres, including but not limited to documentary, independent study, and experimental media. This course will build on our popular Introduction to Cinema course, which we are recommending receive a name change to Introduction to Theater Arts Cinema. Our next set of recommendations are for 2 high-interest electives, Sports Literature and the Rhythm and Rhyme of Poetry and Lyrical Composition. Sports literature will focus on the connection between sports and literature. Themes studied will include leadership and character, definitions of success and failure, hero worship, rivalries, and fate. Students will be given a chance to analyze all types of contemporary sports literature, including novels, magazine and newspaper articles, radio and TV broadcasts, podcasts, and movies to see the connection that sports have in society today. In the Rhythm and Rhyme of Poetry and Lyrical Composition course, students will seek their own poetic voices and the most powerful ways to express themselves to an audience. Themes studied will include writing poetic verse, poetry analysis, genre exploration, lyrical format, the creation of verse to match melodic structure, the study of meter, rhythm and rhyme, and finally, the art of matching written lyrics and poetry to music. The course will help students write poetry and lyrics and develop a deeper appreciation and understanding of the songwriting process. Finally, we recommend removing journalism, as this course has been eclipsed by the expansion of video production courses and the addition of media literacy in recent years. The music department is recommending modifying Piano 1 and 2 to Music Keyboard Workshop. The title portrays a more accurate description of the course. Music Keyboard Workshop will provide an opportunity for students with or without piano or music keyboard-based experience to explore the fundamental principles of music keyboard technique. Music reading and theory will be emphasized through the development of basic playing technique that culminates in the performance of a variety of repertoire. We are recommending the addition of 2 new science courses. Medical Interventions is the 3rd course we are recommending within the Project Lead the Way Biomedical Science program, designed to establish a rigorous and relevant health services pathway. In this course, students will follow the life of a fictitious family as they investigate how to prevent, diagnose, and treat disease. Students will explore how to detect and fight infection, screen and evaluate the code in human DNA, evaluate cancer treatment options, and prevail when the organs of the body begin to fail. Through real-world cases, students will be exposed to a range of interventions related to immunology, surgery, genetics, pharmacology, medical devices, and diagnostics. In environmental sustainability, students will investigate and design solutions in response to real-world challenges related to clean and abundant drinking water, food supply, and renewable energy. This is a Project Lead the Way engineering course being recommended to expand the STEM pathway. Oops. In social studies, we are recommending the addition of a 2nd law course, Law and Legal System, Civil Law. This course will offer a comprehensive look at all aspects of civil law, including consumer law, environmental law, family law, and torts. Students will analyze the contemporary issues in today's complicated legal system, and they will have the opportunity to examine the various court systems in the state and federal governments. Throughout the semester, students will have the opportunity to meet and work with judges, attorneys, and law enforcement officials from the community. Students will participate in mock trial simulations and moot court activities throughout the course. We are also recommending the removal of history of contemporary American culture due to lack of student interest and the addition of other high-interest electives in recent years. That concludes our orientation on the academic program changes for the upcoming school year.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I have just 2 quick questions. For the elementary math curriculum, is there, I know that there's almost always professional development included in the materials. Is there also, will there also be materials for parents who are helping to support their students' learning?
Yes, there are several types of parent materials, including print and video resources.
Love the video, love that. As someone who does not know how to do a lot of my child's 4th grade math. My other question is related to the math in the middle school. So students, for example, who are, let's say, in honors math in 7th grade now, I know that the trajectory is for them to move to honors algebra 1, but if current honors, 7th grade honors is, if they're finding it incredibly challenging, are there opportunities for students to move down or up between 7th and 8th grade from honors to non-honors and vice versa? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
In the new sequence that we're proposing, yes. Currently, it is very challenging for a student to move between college prep and honors because the curriculum historically was quite different in 7th grade. They actually had 2 totally separate curriculums. So if a child wanted to go from college prep to honors from 7th to 8th grade, they would have to do some type of summer remediation work and would have to do something on their own to prepare and take an entrance exam to be able to change levels. The way that we structured 7th grade this year with the honors and the college prep pre-algebra, the curriculum is very similar, so a student would be able to go from college prep in 7th grade to honors in 8th grade, or vice versa, from honors in 7th grade to CP or college prep in 8th grade. We're also opening the door with this change for next year to algebra for all, so that students would be able to change levels if they would like as they enter the high school as well. So a student would be able to go from college prep in 8th grade to honors in 9th grade at the high school, or vice versa. At the high school, the way that the courses kind of branch out, there are a lot of options at the high school. So not all students at the high school will be on the same path. So whereas in middle school, everyone is 6th grade and then pre-algebra and then algebra, when you get to the high school, there are an assortment of classes, some of which are a full year and some are a half a year, and they can be pieced together in different ways, and so it becomes much more individualized. There is, I would say, a traditional path that many students do take that is from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2 to geometry to potentially trigonometry or pre-calc or calculus. But then we also offer courses in statistics at the high school, in computer science at the high school, and then also in courses that would prepare students more for a trade or just entrance into a college. So we have prerequisites to collegiate mathematics, we have intro to statistics, we have a variety of courses. So there's not necessarily that direct sequence at the high school that we see at the middle level.
Can you, this is my last question, can you just speak to, given this curriculum change and that before Algebra 1 was mostly in 9th grade, from what I understand, or
it's kind of half and half, but yeah.
Okay.
Probably not. It was probably
there
60%.
were students in 8th
yeah.
grade who didn't have to take Algebra 1, I guess is my
Mhm.
point. Can you just speak to what kinds of data you're collecting to see what the impact of that change is on students? I have some concerns about for students who may struggle in math, that the leap to Algebra 1 in 8th grade might be particularly challenging. So can you just speak to sort of how you deal with students who are struggling, and also what kind of data you're looking at to see what the impact is of this change?
Yeah. Are you okay if I can answer? Okay. Sorry, I just didn't want to step on Mr. File's toes. So we've really started collecting much more data over the last 2 years as we've gone one-to-one and been able to implement more instructional tools online. And so we are gathering information on how students are doing on unit exams, for instance. We also are using benchmarking tools that we didn't historically use. So we have a Lincoln benchmark exam, and we also have the iExcel that is giving us monthly input as to how students are growing and where they're at with each standard. So we're able to collect quite a bit of information. The other, though, I would say, so we are monitoring it and we are seeing that students so far are successful this year, but we also made significant changes to the instructional minutes in mathematics. So even 6th grade increased in instructional minutes. All 3 grade levels increased. So when you actually think about the amount of time a student has in math before they take algebra, the amount of instructional minutes is the same as if they were entering it in 9th grade as it is 8th grade because of the way that we've increased the minutes. So they are getting a similar amount of mathematic instruction before they enter algebra in terms of those minutes. In addition to that, we've also layered on math supports that we didn't have in the past. So we've added that win period or period of time to our mathematics classroom that is happening every other day for a half hour. We have math coaches that are helping to push in to work with students. So we really have layered in a lot of supports. And so when we look at our vision for what we want mathematics to look like at the middle school, we really want to create opportunities for all students. And we know systemically we can do that by reducing differentials and opportunities, so making sure all students have opportunities to engage in high-level mathematics. We know we can do that by layering in supports, so they're doing that through our MTSS model, and that they have time. And so we've increased instructional time. So we really feel systemically that we're making important changes to provide all students, access to high-level instruction and the ability to be successful in it.
Any additional questions or comments from the board?
I had a question about the elementary math recommendation. One of the principles that I think the words used was access for all was one of the things that came out from this program. And can you talk a little bit more about what that means in the context of this?
So the curriculum is built around the UDL framework, which is the Universal Design for Learning. And what that does is provide opportunities for increased engagement for students. So it focuses heavily on the why of learning, helping students understand why they are learning a particular concept and how it works in their lives. Representation, so the program focuses on how to learn the math. Multiple representations, lots of models, opportunities to engage in problem solving, multiple pathways. And the third UDL principle that goes along with access for all is action and expression, which basically provides different opportunities for students to engage in their learning. So different types of formats such as collaborative learning or use of manipulatives, those types of high impact learning formats for students.
And then as a follow-up question to this question of accessibility, so I know you mentioned manipulatives and there's some digital elements to this. Is the program digitally accessible for students that may need digital accessibility?
Yes. We will have both with the recommendation. The program has both print components and online resources, digital components for students.
I hear you saying a lot about the sort of recommended pedagogical practices that this particular program is emphasizing. Could you speak to what you've seen in math classes prior or currently, and how this differs from that?
Yes. So in our classrooms, we've had everyday mathematics for many years, several decades. And everyday mathematics is a problem-based program, but it is structured in a more traditional format, meaning there is typically direct teacher instruction, small group work. So teachers present a concept to the students, and then the students practice problems to show that they can apply that concept. This program flips that in a way so that students are presented with a problem first. They are given the opportunity to struggle with that problem, engage in conversation with peers, with the teacher, to struggle with the rigor of that mathematical concept, and then the teacher will bring them in to help solidify their understanding and present them with the learning that's tied to the concept.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board?
Just a comment. Excuse me. I appreciate the fact that when you, Ms. Anam, as you said about the higher level math at the high school, particularly for that third credit, it doesn't have to be the typical advanced math. And I'd like to see, I know it's years out till the bulk of students are at that third credit, but a continuing differentiation of courses in the math program, in the program of studies. Like I was scrolling through it and I'm thinking, if I'm a student, what is my third math credit? Because I've already taken geometry for my second now, and I'm, I'd like to see that continue to expand, which you said that is going to happen. So I appreciate that because I think that could be a challenge for a lot of students when they're faced to take that third credit. What do they take, and might be stuck in a higher level math class. And so you said that that's not the focus and the vision. I know this has been committee work for years, and this is not new tonight, but just acknowledge that I look forward to see the math program grow in offerings.
Yeah, in
I do want to just comment, as you said, like grow, you probably have noticed, because you've been on the board now for a little while, that we do have kind of a multi-year plan. And so as you heard Mr. File present things that, you heard a little bit about last year, and now we're expanding it. In many cases, and with, we're rolling things out over time. So we're building it over time. We can't add a senior level course before we lay the foundational courses. So there are many more things in the works.
Thank you.
I think most of my questions have been asked already, so I'll just add feedback. I appreciate the vetting process and that it included teachers' voices and students' voices. Some of the electives are being offered because they were popular. Our students want them, and we're listening to them, and we're saying, okay, this is for you. Even with the Mandarin courses, the students requested that, and you're listening. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for your hard work. And that's all I have. Anyone else? Thank you. Dr. Fetcher, does that conclude our orientation for this evening?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Then we will move forward with comments from citizens. Comments from citizens are being broadcasted live. Pardon me. Comments are being from citizens are being conducted both in person and by phone. The phone number to participate in public comment is 267-715-3717 and is featured on the screen at this time. If there is someone present who would like to make a comment, there are mics to the left and to the right of you. Please be sure to state your name and address. We'll give our people at home a little bit of time. Mr. Sneed, can you confirm that there are no callers on the line?
That is confirmed.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed with agenda item number 7, which is approval of minutes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation to approve the December meeting minutes?
Yes, Madam President, it is a recommended action the Board of School Directors approves the minutes of the board reorganization meeting on December 5th, 2022, and the board meeting on December 13th, 2022.
Second.
We have a second. This is a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, and motion carries. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for approval of the personnel addenda?
Yes, Madam President, it is the recommended action of the Board of School Directors approves the changes in the personnel as reflected in Personnel Addendum Number 8.1 and Confidential Personnel Addendum Number 8.1A.
Second.
We have a second. Dr. Fetcher.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. The personnel addenda begins with item number 1 and the appointments of 3 professional employees for the 2022-2023 school year. Item number 2 is a changes of status for 2 professional employees. Item number 3 is a request for leaves of absence for 3 professional staff members. Item number 4 is a request for additional days for the 2022-2023 school year for 2 professional employees. The personnel addendum continues with the hiring of substitutes, compensation for curriculum projects, parent meetings, interpreter and translation services, IEP meetings, and support personnel items.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Mrs. Flanagan.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mallory?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it, and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for approval of the financial report?
Yes, Madam President, as a recommended action of the Board of School Directors approves the financial report for period ending November 30th, 2022, as reflected in addendum number 9.1.
Second.
We have a second. Dr. Fetcher.
I'm going to ask Mr. Lionetti to summarize the November 2022 financial report, please.
Thank you, Dr. Fetcher. As of November 30th, we received $127.3 million of revenue, which is 75.5% of the $168.5 million revenue budget. Last year, through November, we received $121.7 million of revenue, which was 74.5% of the then revenue budget. revenue collections are $5.6 million ahead of last year. Year-to-date, we've expended $59.9 million of our $180.9 million expense budget, which equates to 33.1% of the budget. Through the same time period last year, $57.9 million were expended, which is 32.7% of the then $176.9 million budget. We've expended $2 million more this year compared to last year for the same time period. With respect to our capital project fund for the district's paid senior high school project contractors, $2.7 million in November, which is due in great part to the release of retainage. Retainage is the earnings that are withheld for the faithful performance of contracts, and was advised that we release some of those funds during this month to our contractors. That concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Feasy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it, and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for approval of the payment of bills?
Yes, Ms. Brown, it is a recommended action that the Board of School Directors approves the payment of bills for the period ending November 30th, 2022, as reflected in addendum number 10.1.
Second.
We have a second. Dr. Fetcher?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding the payment of the bills.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Feasy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it, and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for permits for the use of building and grounds?
Yes, Madam President, as a recommended action that the Board of School Directors approves the applications for permits for use of buildings and grounds as reflected in number 11.1. All permits are subject to change per the provisions of the Health and Safety Plan pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
We have a second. Dr. Fetcher?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. The permit addendum continues to reflect requests for buildings and grounds for meetings, sports, and activities. I bring your attention to permit number 226, which is for the Abington National Junior Honor Society's Martin Luther King Jr.'s Interactive Day of Learning on January 16, 2023 at the Abington Middle School Little Theater. Please note revised permit number 205, which is the cancellation of the use of Abington Senior High School for the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. This year, the event will be held at the Abington Township Building.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Yes.
I'm curious, why did it change to the?
The program is a township program that the school district has supported, and there was a decision by the township to host it at the township building, and I believe it has to do mostly with a service component that they'd like to have with the celebration. In the past, we have had 3 schools provide either a song or poetry at the celebration in the auditorium. Our students will still support it, but I believe that this year it'll be only one school at this time because of the change in the program.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the board? Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Feasy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it, and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for advertisement for bids?
Yes, Madam President, it is a recommended action that the Board of School Directors approves the advertisement for bid as reflected in addendum number 12.1.
Second.
We have a second. Dr. Fetcher?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Tonight we have one advertisement for bid, and that is laptops for our professional staff.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Feasy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye, ayes have it and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for awards of contracts?
Yes, Madam President, as a recommended action of the Board of School Directors approves the awards of contract as reflected in addendum number 13.1.
Second.
We have a second, Dr. Fetcher.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Tonight, for your consideration, we have 3 awards of contract, that being design consulting services and playground renovations. And these will start with Copper Beach, Roslyn, Rydell East, and Rydell West elementary schools. And then we have our elementary K-5 mathematics program, as you saw earlier this evening. And we have our food service kitchen smallwares.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Can I just ask a quick question? The design consulting services is just for the design of the playgrounds, right? It's not for the renovations. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, because it looks
two-
very inexpensive for renovations.
Yes. No, unfortunately, and it's a good point to bring up. 2 years ago, we had Architera come in and look at all of the playgrounds across the district and propose some things that could be changes or designs, one for more accessibility and also, for equipment that needs to be refreshed. Those prices clearly, as everything has gone up significantly since that time period. One of the things that we need to do is take a more in-depth look at these particular schools, and the plan would be to do that through all the schools eventually. And with this particular look at the details, what are some design options, and what are some things that we can do in terms of types of equipment. How can we make the playgrounds more accessible to all students? Our focus in doing this project is truly with an equity focus to ensure that all of our students have some accessibility and some way to enjoy the playgrounds, as well as the social interactions with their peers.
I'm thrilled to hear that. One of the things I will be looking for is the conversation, not just about access, but what can students actually do? Students who are physically impaired, students who have sensory challenges. Not just access, but what can they actually experience? So I'm looking forward to those conversations. Any other questions or concerns?
I still have to do the change order, but before that, I just wanted to add in, we have also pursued various grants for our playgrounds, some to which we have been denied because of the criteria of the grants. For instance, we have applied for the Christopher Reeve Foundation grant, the Heinz Foundation, and we were denied on those. Sourcewell through AASA, which is the superintendent's group, National Association, we received a $2,500 award this year for a grant, and that was applied to a current, trying to make a current pathway accessible. So we're applying that $2,500 to that. We have some other applications out there as well. And I know that that has been a question of yours in terms of the funding for this and alternatives to funding. And we continue to pursue that. We've pursued various other funding sources and grants available as well. But we will continue to do that and also look at examining access funding for what that could be used for in terms of, accessibility.
Do you know what disqualifies us? And if not, it
Yep.
can be answered later.
No, some of it is location. The Heinz Foundation, for instance, targets southwestern Pennsylvania. And the Christopher Reeve Foundation takes a look at the financial status of the organization or the school district. And as we would compare pretty strong financially compared to some schools and school districts, that will disqualify us for many of the grants.
Thank you so much for that information. Does that conclude?
So we have a contract change order?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Berge to go through the contract change order, please.
Good evening, Dr. Fetcher, Mrs. Brown, and Abington School Board. You may question, the first question I would have is, this project was over in August. Why are we still seeing change orders? Well, on the surface, it's complete. On the surface, we moved the kids in September, we had the grand opening, it was complete, but behind the scenes, a lot of things are still happening. For example, a number of items that were in the original contract are still not complete because of supply chain issues. Some handrails in the school are not complete. Signage is not complete. Some of the students mentioned the pool this year. That was just finished up pretty much the week that the season started. We were able to finish that up. In addition, punch list. A number of punch list items are still in process. Quite a few have not been completed. We're still negotiating some of the punch list items. Next week, we are planning a walkthrough with the professionals through the high school to identify what is complete, what hasn't been complete, what may have been missed by professionals during the review, what is the district satisfied with. We're having a major walkthrough next week to identify these things. So a lot is happening behind the scenes. In addition, when you build a building of this size, there's going to be a lot of things broken and that doesn't work. We call it the shakeout of the building. It's under warranty. So we're going to be walking through looking at those things. Some lighting was brought to my attention today there. So a lot is happening. The second question is, where do we stand in change orders? Well, tonight I have one change order for a single contractor. That would be Munn Construction, Munn Roofing. The rest of the contractors, for the most part, change orders are all addressed. What still is outstanding are some of the negotiations around delays, and they will be coming to you at a future date. I was hoping to have them tonight, but the only one we were prepared to bring to you tonight is Munn Roofing's change order number 9. That is currently up here on the screen. The first few items, most of them pertain to the curtain wall. As you recall, we pulled the curtain wall. It was an unforeseen condition. We pulled it away from the prime contractor, being Borough, and Munn Roofing took care of that. That addressed the curtain wall only. It didn't address a lot of the superficial things. How does it tie into the existing wall? Up until that wall was built, we weren't sure what those things were. So a number of these change orders pertain to that curtain wall. Excuse me. Repair and replacement of steel in the pool area, $4,472. That was related to the curtain wall. Soffit extension of the pool area. If at the curtain wall you're inside the building at the pool, you look up, you have the soffit. When the curtain wall was up, there was a gap there. They had to connect that in. That was $7,000. Painting this tube steel. The curtain wall, you may recall, the curtain wall was part of it, but then we had to have support steel put in. That support steel wasn't painted. We had to paint that steel. In addition to some other work around that steel and the bulkhead, that was $5,360. The next change order was in Area F. Area F is the music area. In there was a number of unforeseen conditions that the architect could not see. The existing frames were rusted. They weren't the right size for new door hardware, new doors. So we had to bring in an outside contractor to do that work at a cost of $14,100. The next item, the door and windowsill tile to finish the curtain wall. At the base of the curtain wall, there's tile that finishes and ties in the floor to the wall. Also, heat goes through there. And there's some other finished work that had to be done in addition to some of the brickwork outside and cleanup of the brickwork outside. That change order was $6,150. Then this last item here is a catch-all. The vast majority of this will be back charged to the prime contractor, Borough Construction, approximately $119,000 of this. Before the start of school, the contractor was busy, was having problems getting contractors in, subcontractors in to do work. Our professionals worked through with them an agreement to bring in a third party, Baver, to come in and do the work. So $119,000 of this work will be charged to Borough, and that will be coming to the school board at a future date. The additional work here was some unforeseen items and other items that were missed that we needed to get occupancy in time for school. So the total change order that is being brought to the school board tonight is $195,832, of which approximately a little over $119,000 will be back charged to Borough Construction. The remainder of these slides are all slides that you have seen before and have been brought to the school board, the total change orders brought to the school board in the past. So where we stand at currently, for the most part, there will be some minor change orders from Borough Electric and Borough Construction. They will be coming to the school board, auditing through, but mostly everything that you will see in the future will relate to back charges and shifting of money around in the project. And as I said, we're not ready to bring that to you. So total change orders to date are $5,785,950.16, which is 5.5% of the project. So what we're asking for tonight is approval of that change order. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Just as a reminder, we budgeted 3% for change orders. Is that accurate?
Mr. Lionetti, would you have that figure?
The contingency budget, if I recall correctly, was $2.7 million, so slightly under 3%, but you're in the ballpark, Mrs. Brown.
Questions or comments from the board?
And based on that number, one of the main issues we have to remind the public was the soil issue that we had in the initial.
$1 billion soil.
Had that not been an issue, we would be in much better place, but unfortunately, it was what it was. So in projects like this, you're going to, as we've learned, you're going to find a lot of things you weren't expecting. And it was, an unpleasant moment, but keeping in mind that we have a beautiful building, we got it done, high quality, that unfortunately that other side is a part of it. So thank you for wrapping this all up as closely as you can so far.
Definitely, and just to add, not just a beautiful building, but what the building is being used for. We have new spaces that we would not have if it weren't for these renovations. So we're definitely mindful of that as well. Any other questions or comments from the board? Thank you. Dr. Fetcher, does that conclude? Yes, I was just asking if there's anything else. No, I agree. You had my back. Thank you. Dr. Fetcher, is there anything else?
No more change orders this evening.
Thank you. Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Fazy?
Aye.
Dr. Kleiman?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it and motion passes. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for the proposed academic changes?
Yes, Ms. Brown, it is a recommended action that the Board of School Directors approves the academic program changes proposed for grades 6 to 12 as reflected in Addendum 14.1 and authorizes the publishing of the Abington Middle School Program of Studies 2023-2024 for grades 6 through 8 and the Abington Senior High School Program of Studies 2023-2024 for grades 9 through 12 as the official statements of the program of study for grades 6 through 12. The board approves the courses listed with the understanding that scheduling of the courses is subject to sufficient enrollment and adequate budgetary provisions.
Second.
You have a second, Dr. Fetcher?
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Tonight, under the orientation, you saw that what the program changes would be for grades 6 to 12, and we can answer any further questions that you may have for the program changes for 6 to 12. I just want to clarify that this is for the academic program changes for 6 to 12 and does not include the K-5 mathematics. That's
Thank
in
you.
our next agenda item.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Just to reiterate a comment, I love the idea of everyone having access to math courses. And I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. I want to reemphasize a point that Dr. Kleiman made with 7th grade. before we had a part 1 and a part 2 pre-algebra. Now we're teaching pre-algebra in 1 year, but with more time. We went from a 45, what was the time before? 48 minute to an 88-minute course, which gives us more time. My question, I guess, is about the standards. If pre-algebra is 7th grade standards and Algebra 1 is Keystone and 8th grade standards, when are those 8th grade standards being taught? Are we condensing 8th grade and Algebra 1 standards in 1 year, and will we have the supports there for both the 7th grade students and the 8th grade students as they take that Keystone and that 8th grade PSSA?
So, breaking microphones all over the place tonight, sorry. The 8th grade standards are actually somewhat split between 7th and 8th. So the 7th grade curriculum is 13 units, and 5 of them include standards from 8th grade, and essentially what's happening is they're being spiraled. So when they teach the real numbers topic for 7th grade standards, they're following it with the 8th grade standards on real numbers. And then the remainder of the 8th grade content will be taught in the algebra course.
Thank you.
Just a question, clarifying your question, or asking for clarification. 8th graders are going to now have to take the PSSA and the Keystone?
Yes, currently our honors algebra 1 students take both exams. So this would increase the number of students who have to take both exams in 8th grade.
And the Keystone becomes is a graduation requirement as of this year, correct?
It is not. It is an option. There are 8 pathways that students can take to graduate, and proficiency on all 3 Keystones exams is only one of those pathways.
So it's one of the.
It's one, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Any additional questions or comments from the board? Ms. Flanagan?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Lowry?
Abstain.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Abstain.
Ms. Basie?
Aye.
Dr. Klein?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye. Ayes have it, motion passes. Dr. Fetcher, that was just for secondary. You said K to 5 is another agenda item for okay, thank you. Mr. Allen, can you please read the recommendation for instructional materials adoption?
Yes, Ms. Brown. It is the recommended action that the Board of School Directors approves in accordance with Sections 508 and 803 of the Pennsylvania School Code, adopt new textbooks and/or instructional programs for the subjects, courses, and levels reflected in addendum number 15.1.
Second.
We have a second, Dr. Fetcher.
Also, during our board orientation this evening, the Department of Teaching and Learning reviewed and is recommending the adoption of K-5 mathematics program, image learning illustrative mathematics for 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? I'm really excited about this. Again, I appreciate the vetting process, but I'm really excited about how students will experience math at a young age, the shift in their learning experience. So my vote is a yes when you get to me. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Flanagan?
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Kay?
Aye.
Dr. Mowry?
Aye.
Mrs. Glasser?
Aye.
Mr. Mohammed?
Aye.
Ms. Basie?
Aye.
Dr. Klein?
Aye.
Mrs. Brown?
Aye, ayes have it, and motion passes. Dr. Fetcher, are there any additional reports or recommendations this evening?
Yes, Mrs. Brown, I provide for you the conference attendance and professional leaves report and the capital improvement projects for your information.
Thank you. Any additional business to be brought about from my fellow board members? Seeing that there are none, we are at agenda item number 18, which is comments from citizens. Comments from citizens are being conducted both in person and by phone. The phone number to participate in public comment is 267-715-3717 and is being displayed on the screen at this time. You will be able to join in by calling on your mobile or landline phone. If there's anyone present within the room, there are mics to the left and to the right of you. Please be sure to state your name and address. And we'll give it another minute, Mr. Sneed, to see if there are any callers. Mr. Sneed, can you confirm that there are no callers on the line?
That is confirmed.
Thank you. And we will finish out with closing comments from my fellow board members. Mr. Allen? Mr. Kay?
No, thank you.
Dr. Mowry?
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Glazer?
Yes, I'd like to announce that on January 21st and 22nd, there's going to be a wheelchair basketball tournament in Philadelphia at the School of the Future. It will be children ages 6 to 18. Everyone is welcome to attend, and if you know of any children ages 6 to 18 that are interested in wheelchair basketball, please look up Katie's Comets. It's spelled with a K. And we are always looking for new participants. They do not need their own chair. We will provide it for them. And the more, the merrier.
Thank you. Free? It's free?
It is free.
Okay.
Yes,
Making
everything's
sure, just making sure
subsidized.
we're
Yes.
not trying to, push. But thank you.
No, it's
I'm
free,
happy that
free,
it's free.
free. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mr. Mohammed?
I just wanted to comment on the shift in elementary math with the emphasis on problem-based learning, productive struggle, discourse. All of that is extremely important. Would love to hear more conversation about that in the secondary grades as well.
Ms. Fazy? Thank you. Dr. Kleiman?
Nothing, thank you.
Dr. Fetcher?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. This meeting is adjourned.